Hi guys. I want to talk to you about a news article that I read this morning, and this goes out to a lot of my more liberal viewers and friends. Recently, since the spate of Brexit occurred, I think a lot of people have felt that their racism has been legitimized, and a lot of us who don't feel that way, who are more progressive, have been outraged by the fact that people seem to think that they can burn down Romanians' shops in Norwich, or call women wearing a hijab on the bus an ISIS bitch, or all of these things which have been in the media quite a lot. Not just Islamophobia, but just general racism and general xenophobia, general nationalism. Now, even if you voted Leave, for the most part, a rational person doesn't think that that's what that meant. The idea of Leave is, for most people, control on immigration, independence from the European superstate, and less government, less bureaucracy. I think those are the core three issues, and I think most people on the Leave side, although I'm not saying that none of them are racists, but I think most people on the Leave side probably thought more on those lines than they did on the racism question. However, we do also have to deal with the fact that illegal immigration is a problem in any country, in any Western democracy. Illegal immigration can really screw you over. And I think people are having a real trouble separating the two issues. Just like racists can't separate refugees from immigrants, I think a lot of people on the progressive left can't separate immigrants from illegal immigrants in our country, and somehow, because of Brexit and because a few people have been racist, that every illegal immigrant in this country gets some kind of a free pass from the progressive left, and that's just bullshit. And let me break it down for you very simply. This morning I read an article, Huffington Post, BBC, a lot of different news organisations have picked this up, and it's concerning the Byron hamburger chain, who in an intelligence-led raid, as they say, I'm quoting the article here, in an intelligence-led raid by immigration officials at the Home Office, around 35 people have been arrested for immigration offences, or suspected, alleged immigration offences, I should say. And it added that the operation was carried out on the 4th of July and was carried out with Byron's full cooperation. That's again in quotations. Byron, the burger chain, which I'm sure we've all had a few burgers there, they're pretty good. Byron had carried out the correct right to work staff checks and had been shown papers suspected to be false. So for those of you who've never employed anyone in Britain, or how it works as an employer, one of the things you're supposed to do is check that every single one of your employees has a right to work. Because we live in the European Union, and because we have open borders with anyone from Europe, you could have a situation where people could be working here illegally, pretending to be European, or just obviously in general, it's best to keep people who are illegal out of the country. So what you're supposed to do is, as well as collect a national insurance number from every person working, you should have a photocopy of their passport. And if it's a European Union passport, of course, they have the right to work here. And if it is not, they usually have a visa, or a right to work visa, or a right of abode, or some kind of other documentation that proves that whether if they come from, I don't know, Azerbaijan, and not inside the European Union, that they, in fact, have the right to work here. And every business, from corner shop to huge burger chain, has to check that out and do due diligence on all of their employees. Now, no company has to check that the documents are forgeries, but you do have to have a folder. If immigration come to your office, you do have to have a folder or an email, a computer file with their employee form, their documentation, their national insurance number, all of that stuff, bank account details. The burger chain, which has 65 restaurants, said the Home Office recognised that an employer, Byron, was fully compliant with immigration and asylum law in its employment practices. So they were not hiring people under the table. What they are talking about is people who have presented false documents and been working there, as citizens, or as people who got the right to work. Now, I read this on Twitter today from a woman named Abby Wilkinson, at Abby Wilkes. Never ever eating at Byron Hamburgers again, and would encourage others to make the same decision. Craven, despicable behavior. Hashtag boycott Byron. Danielle or Daniele Dash. I will never eat at Byron Hamburgers again. Neither should you. Morally repugnant company. Someone else wrote, luring your own staff whose labour you've benefited from for 4+ years to a room filled with cops is next level snake. And a few other people have come to the same decisions. Now, you know, the thing is that these people were here illegally. They were here breaking the law. They used false documentation, lied to their employers in order to gain egress either into the country or into the company. And look, I get it. You're sending money back home. That's fine. But there are ways to apply to be a resident of Britain which do not require you coming here and working illegally. In fact, out of the 350,000 out of the 350,000 people who emigrated to this country last year, which the Leave campaign touted as a big figure, 185,000 of them were from outside of the EU. And I should mention that all of the people who've been stopped by the Home Office in this Byron sting are from Albania, Egypt, Nepal, all countries outside of the European Union. And then I read this, thing here, which kind of completely contradicts itself, but I'd like you to just bear with me for a second because it's, so this is quoting from Now. These reports are deeply shocking. If these accusations are true, then the bosses at Byron should be utterly ashamed of themselves for turning people's lives upside down. Nobody wants people to be working illegally in the UK, not least because they face exploitation from unscrupulous bosses. But this alleged act of underhand trickery from Byron is unforgivable. These people who are settled and working in the UK should be able to apply for residency so as to continue contributing to our society and our economy. End quote. They could have done that. They could have done it through the proper channels. They could have applied for residency through the Home Office, from abroad or from within the country. But what they did instead was they chose to present false documents to an employer, not only putting themselves at risk, but the business that they're working for at risk, for huge fines, for people thinking that they employ people under the table or illegally, for their reputation, for all these other things. It's the business that's taken the risk, not this guy here. He's not taking any risk at all. And what's going to happen? I mean, most of the time now, immigration are getting tough. Now they're sort of starting to enforce these things, but most of the time these people slip through the cracks and we never see them again. So this whole idea of boycotting Byron, boycott yourself, because there is a big difference between turning some poor Romanian chap who is working here legally's life upside down for no good reason, because he's gone through the proper channels, he's come here, he's working, he's contributing to the society, and somebody who's come here illegally. We don't know how illegal. Have they lied all the way through? Is that even their real name? We don't know anything about them. And unfortunately, as an immigrant to this country myself, one of the things you have to understand about the immigration process is that they respect honesty over everything else. You have to tell them the truth. You have to. Even if you've done some bad shit, even if you've got no money, you have to tell them that because they want to know that you're the kind of person they want in the country. And one of the things you don't do is lie to your employer about where you're from. Now, there are hundreds of restaurants in London that pay cash in hand, that pay cash under the table. Hundreds. And you could easily go and work in any one of those. But to apply to work in what is a pretty large chain, I think it's sort of 60 plus restaurants now, to apply to work in what is an enormous chain, and to think that you're somehow going to slip in under the radar and not get caught is stupid and asinine. And I don't think that, you have a right to do that. And I don't think that these people who have been arrested for criminal activity, essentially, have a right. And so please, I want to know what you think. Should we be boycotting Byron Burgers, or have the Home Office and Byron done the right thing? I mean, I agree that, of course, the tactics were slightly underhand, but these people are part of a police network. They're not here to make nice, and they're not here to make it easy for you. You know, that would be like saying, oh, the police used undercover policemen to catch drug dealers. You know, like, oh God, you know, how awful are they? You know, what underhanded tactics? You know, those are the tactics that you use to catch people who are breaking the law. It's particularly underhanded, and I certainly don't see Byron having any responsibility or being held, you know, should be held responsible for the fact that they had 35 illegals working for them, and they got duped. So what do you think, guys? I'd like to get your comments. I'd like to get your reactions. I'd like you to give this video a big thumbs up if you can. Comment in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel. And we'll see if we can make a few more of these. I promise that I'm going to do at least one of these a week. Probably slightly longer than this one. And then a few short ones like this as news comes in and things just outrage me, like boycott Byron. So yeah, I'd really like to get your feedback. Please tell me what you think, what keeps the conversation going. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.